really cool.
Bonjour, hello, and welcome to the Rosbiff Rugby podcast, your one-stop shop for all things French rugby, top 14, Pro de National, French national team, Les Bleus, the Champions and Challenge Cups, which are just around the corner. And of course, most importantly of all, the brilliant towns, cities, bars, restaurants, stadiums, fans, music, fanfare, everything that makes the French rugby experience the game we know, the game we love. Rob, how are you on it's been a nice few days, isn't it, in South London? How are you on a nice-ish spring Monday afternoon, evening, wherever we are?
I had a fairly relaxing weekend, out trying to enjoy as much sunshine as possible. Unfortunately, to the detriment of watching various games of rugby, which would have been nice, but managed to not embarrass myself with alcohol at least this weekend, or at least I can remember most of the weekend, which is improvement on pretty much the whole of the last 2 months.
Six
How
nations,
about you?
mate.
I'm worried
Six
about
nations.
Have you recovered from the big one on Friday night?
The big one on Friday night. Oh God, what happened on Friday? Oh yes, yeah. I was slightly shaky. It must be said, after my grandma's 96th birthday. Yeah, it was a hell of an affair.
What was it? Sherry,
wild.
Cinzano?
Glaver is her.
What's that?
I actually don't know. I don't even think I've seen her drink it or seen anyone drink it. But there's always a bottle of Glaver knocking around. It's like a whiskey liqueur or something.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. No, it was all very nice. I had, I think, a solitary glass of wine, which is plenty. It turns out when you're 96 years of age, perhaps unsurprising. But no, it was good. Thank you. And then I was similar. I was a little bit less, maybe having imbibed so much on rugby over the last few weeks with the amazing Six Nations. I went back to the round ball game, mate. I was down at Malbane, AFC Wimbledon v Peterborough. In what must be said, the second half is one of the most entertaining games of football, or entertaining halves of football I've ever seen, just in terms of pure chaos, farce, all sorts going on. 1-1 didn't quite seem fair at the end of it, in terms of didn't reflect the number of times the goalie fell over, or someone got kicked in the shins, or the ball hit the post. It was a lot of fun, it must be said.
How are Wimbledon doing?
Going okay. 50 points in League One, eight games to go. So touch woods, we should, barring a bit of a meltdown, I think we hopefully will keep our status. While that win would have probably done it. A couple of tough rounds to go. Tough trip to Lincoln to come, which top of the league, but yeah, fingers crossed, having come up and lowest budget in the league, doing a Dax and Aurillac in League One, mate. So yeah, we will see. Hopefully faring more like Aurillac than, say, Montpellier in the top 14.
Yeah.
What we're going to discuss today?
Tranmere, by the way, since I saw them win on Boxing Day, I think they won on New Year's Day, and I think they've won one win and one draw in 15 games since, which is quite staggering. And we're still 5 points clear of the place behind us, which is mental. That speaks to the quality at the lower end of League Two, where wins are slightly about as rare as they are for Montpellier. Yeah.
I'm very familiar with the lower half of League Two, having spent most of the last 10 years watching my team there. So yeah, I can feel that pain, or whatever you want to call it. What we're going to discuss this week, we had the top 14 was back. We've got Pro de is on the horizon. 7 games to go, I think it is, in the regular season of the Pro de Marathon. Anything else you wanted to tee up this week, Rob?
I wanted to flag, we'll do it in the Petit-Fours, but just reflag some trip options. Derby weekend is coming up, so I'll divulge some details about that, even though the details are thin on the ground from the LNR. But yeah, some trips in April for everyone.
Very nice. Let's go into the top 14 then. We did a big old preview last week. We let everyone know how ropey particularly my league predictions had been way back in August or whenever it was. And it was another it must be said, there've been a few this year. It was a genuinely interesting round. There were away wins, both expected and perhaps a little bit less so. A couple of last year's giants continue to struggle, or certainly barragistes from last season. And overall, it was pretty good fun with a fairly stellar outing at the Matmut Atlantique on Sunday night to finish it all off. Yeah, what did you? Where should we start? Should we start at the end?
Well, just generally, like general thoughts. Like there was a strong argument for all home wins. Even Montauban had a winnable game at home this week, and, and then mid Saturday afternoon, I messaged you being like, "This is blatantly going to be all away wins, apart from our two teams being the two away teams that don't win," and it was nearly that. Toulouse obviously being the other team to lose away from home, but yeah, I kind of thought it might be all home wins, but with a lot of them that were kind of could go one way or the other, and the ones that I thought would be a bit more debatable were perhaps Cast might still won it at the La Défense, and Pau might show up against a still depleted La Rochelle. Maybe Stade Francais. I thought I was pretty confident about Clermont getting the win there, and I guess Bayonne was the other one that was kind of relatively certain. I did not see Lyon beating Perpignan, I have to say.
Yeah, fantastic win for Lyon, who are in a pretty good trot, aren't they?
Yeah.
They've won. That's two, I think, away from home on the spin, and they got a draw with Toulon and pretty comfortable over Montauban in that. So they're making a bit of a late charge. No tries for Gita Wynangolo this week, which is a shame. But he did. I don't know if you saw this run sideways to tee up. I think it was possibly Dylan Cratan in the corner. Yeah, but Lyon really really impressive, particularly given obviously we know where Perpignan are, but Perpignan have been somewhat better of late, haven't they?
First loss at home this in 2026, I think.
Is it really? Oh, they've
For
been
Perpignan.
that good.
Yeah.
Ah, interesting. Oh, well, my man, one of my favourite players, as you know, Sam Simmons, Rugby Rama Player of the Week for not
Was
the
he?
first time this season as well.
He's
Yeah,
had a lot, hasn't he?
he's been tearing up trees. Yeah, captain as well. It's a impressive comeback as well for somebody who obviously didn't quite go his way at Montpellier with like the Vunipola signing and maybe not quite fitting into that back row with the likes of Billy and Lenny Nucci coming through. So
He's far
yeah,
too flair for that Montpellier team.
yeah, I'd
Too
say so.
exciting. That's why he got binned off. He was too exciting and not enough of a criminal.
Too much liveliness and too clean a record to really excel down there. Do you wanna touch on them briefly, because they've now locked in, at least temporarily, second in the league, and it's been an impressive patch for Montpellier, regardless of their spurious recruitment and sometimes slightly dour style of rugby.
And Angus Tyrone on commentary slightly echoed this sentiment. I have absolutely no idea how Montpellier won this game. I couldn't tell you what they did. They didn't, like, Clermont were just, it was one of those ones where I expected the stats to be kind of 65% possession and territory to Clermont, and it wasn't, but it was definitely in Clermont's favour. It felt like a lot of the game was played in the Montpellier half, in the Montpellier 22, but Clermont weren't like overly profligate. It wasn't like they kind of dropped the ball 5 times over the line, but it was just, they were just on top for the whole game, and there was kind of one bit of territory towards the end for Montpellier which they got some joy out wide from, and that was enough. And it's also, in hindsight, you like, why didn't, like, Clermont had so many chances to go for the post, but at 17-15 they were going for an attacking bonus one. If they'd scored another try and then shut out Montpellier, they would have won. They would have got a 5-point win. So they're going for the attacking bonus point at 17-15 because Montpellier have scored 0 tries, and they get pretty damn close to it. But Montpellier didn't really do anything. They defended very, very well, and their line out is very good. But it's not like they didn't get like in complete domination at the scrum. Like, that was kind of went one way and then the other, sort of scrummaging day. It was, yeah. I don't know who was man of the match, but I couldn't pick one out.
Well,
And I think that's just what Montpellier did. Billy Vunipola was very good, actually. But that's just what Montpellier seem to be doing at the moment. Ali Price is going as well. So it's like the British contingent are going well, even if Lennox and Yamwu did get sent off for a headshot.
Grinding out some impressive results. Two guys very briefly to mention there scored the crucial try at the end. Tom Banks has still played every single minute, which is like
makes him sound amazing, but like he's an okay player.
He's had a good season at Montpellier, regardless of his minutes played.
Yeah.
And then another guy who has been getting a lot of raps, I saw in James Harrington's roundup. There was a little mention, and actually quite a few of the French rugby press have been singing his praises, as was his captain Lenny Nucci at the end, is Florian Verhaeghe in the second row, who feels very much like he's kind of getting into that realm of like your fate. Yeah, if you're like a French rugby nerd's favourite underrated second row. He
was up against, and also loves the scrap, so he was up against the king of underrated French second rows, top 14 second rows that love a scrap. And him and Thomas Sate went toe to toe in terms of any time there was like a little bit of scuffle in the middle. Florent Verhaeghe and Thomas Sate right in the mixer of it. Thomas Sate was very good again.
There's your Moneyball second row pairing. There's your fantasy rugby, Le Scrum or whatever it's called in the Midi Olympique fantasy rugby. Verhaeghe and Thomas Sate. Yeah, very very impressive.
Just on Montpellier. So I saw Ilted posted it on Blue Sky. Of the 28 tight heads that were in squads this weekend in the top 14, there were 9 Frenchmen. So they by one they beat the Georgians, and I was going to get you to guess them, but I'm not sure I could do them. There were 2 in one team had 2, and that was Montpellier, and they have the best tight head in the league, like best all-round tight head in the league, and he's French, but he is, well, I was about to say criminally unselectable. He is a criminal.
Persona non grata.
Yeah, like Wilfred Hunkpatan is having a fantastic season. Hawass has done less, but is, I think if he didn't have a criminal record, Hawass would still be playing for France if he wasn't such a terrible bloke. Yeah, it's a weird one with this whole France aren't producing tight heads, because they've got 2 that are excellent. They've got 1 that is very, very good, but he's just unselectable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's when I was listing them out, we kind of talked about this a little bit last week. I was listing them out, and there's A, maybe fewer than I'd expected, and B, it does stand out like a sore thumb. It's slightly ironic, I guess, but yeah, it's no one's fault, let alone Galtier's, that those guys are not in the mix. So yeah, there we go. Just to round off, we were talking about the top then, but we were mentioned Perpignan losing at home to Lyon. The slightest glimmer that they might not have to play in an access match before this round. This feels like that's very much the case. And equally, any tiny glimmer that Montauban had that feels, I don't think it's mathematically done yet, but it's probably as good as, isn't it?
It's probably still got quite a long way. Yeah, probably still quite a long way from being mathematically done. But I think realistically, they're not winning. Like, if they can't beat Bayonne, it's more the fact that like they've not even got close. They've been absolutely thumped, but they've conceded 60 at home to a team in 12th that has had a shocker of a run. And they had a few players back from injury, but
they've got a next game. I think they've got to go to my boys Cast, and who knows, they could well be there for the taking.
Just on Perpignan. Dimitri Mascarenhas scored on his debut. Not Dimitri Mascarenhas. Diego Mascarenhas, I'm going to go with. But a young Catalan lad, 18-year-old, on his top 14 debut, scored a very nice try, I have to say.
Great finish.
Also, I did notice in that the right-hand scrum of the right hand of the Perpignan scrum is just splintering, absolutely ruining the Lyon pack. Brooksy back to his best. The tight head. He was the one English tight head in the 28 tires.
Nice. Yeah.
But he looks a player to look out for. Dimitri
Mascarenhas is incredibly niche reference as well. Like, that's not one for the fair weather cricket fan. That's for the people who have been with us from the start.
Mate, he's an England international.
Niche.
It is niche. It's niche.
It's niche.
It's not like Freddie Flintoff, is it?
Yeah. yeah, the real Freddie Flintoff to the the Thomas Sate of Freddie
Yeah,
Flintoffs
yeah,
to
yeah,
Lucian
yeah.
Mascarenhas. Yeah, so that's sorted. Cast, as I say, that's where Montauban go next. Started really well and got
What happened, Richard?
absolutely hammered. Got hammered at La Défense. Yeah, I mean, again, the Achilles heel. I saw Sidorni and Babio interviewed afterwards. They were, yeah, very much just no excuses, just utterly second best in every area. But I think they were 17 penalties this time, so not their best
Not
effort,
PB, but
not PB, and only 2 yellow cards. But the persistence of their of their offending is quite like it really is remarkable for a side with that much like genuine quality within it. And Racing I think were pretty good to all intents and purposes, and there was there was quite a lot of from what I saw quite a lot of big men running at small men in this. You saw Joshua Tuisova off the bench was flattening people. I think it was the last try. Taniela Tupou goes hurling through Fernandez or somebody, and you're just like, "Oh, that is not a matchup you want to see if you're a Cast fan." So yeah, it makes me convinced though that they are now going to go and beat Northampton at Franklin's Gardens. It feels like that is the kind of pattern of this year's season for Cast. But yeah, just wildly inconsistent and consistently indisciplined beyond that, unfortunately.
two things. First of all, one of the more niche tries you'll see scored in this game, I think in the end by Max Spring, but involving two players kneeing the ball.
Kneeing it, yeah. Yeah.
Like he knees it, then someone else knees it, and Max Spring is the one that picks it up. It was in like the best five tries, and I was like, if they just pick that because it's weird.
The first knee is off comes off a Cast knockback as well. It's kind
From
of
like a flare offload as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like the equivalent of a football goal line scramble, but it's always moving forward. Yeah, agreed. Sorry, your second point.
Do you know which side has conceded the most penalties in the top 14 after 19 games?
Well, I'm going to assume Cast would be too obvious, but is it Racing?
No, Racing are 10th on 211. The bottom is tight, I have to say. Okay. Racing are 10th on 211. USAP 213. Aveyron Bayonnais 214. Stade Francais 216. 218. The most penalties conceded is Cast Olympique.
Yes.
But only two. Only
feels
two.
Like it should be
feels
more
like it should be more, yeah.
It really does. There must be games where they're conceding like 2 or 3 and then just being utterly profligate elsewhere.
Oh, don't worry, Richard. Hang on. Oh, mate, you're miles off being the worst for yellow cards. You're 10th with 17.
That shocks me.
Bayonne have got 20 in 19 games. Racing are up there, 19. Racing 19 from 19. They bloomin' love it.
Always good value. I think you mentioned it, though, maybe a couple of weeks ago. The statistic I'd like to see would be concurrent yellow cards. Because there does seem that Cast have quite often played with 13 men this season.
Or fewer.
Or fewer, yeah. In their win at La Rochelle, famously. Yeah, but never mind. Cast, Franklin's Gardens, we're coming. The Parisian clubs, though, Racing very good. Stade Francais, probably the most eye-catching result of the round.
Yeah, I think shows the kind of mire that Toulon are in, even with Monsieur Clipboard Pierre Mignoni back on the touchline in the dugout. I don't know what we call it on the touchline.
Technical area.
It doesn't quite have the same ring to it in the dugout, does it?
No, you're right.
But yeah, pretty good performance from Stade Francais.
Yeah, they're a decent side. The
With
guy who's
won probably the try of the weekend as well. The finished off by Leo Barre, which involves a lot of members of the team and also features some absolute gas from Penny Dakawanga, which is always fun. How did the footsie go in the ultimate footsie off between Racing and Cast? Who was the risers in the Fijian Flair try scorers extraordinaire index?
I don't know how many of these tries were scored. I think that Karawalevu scored the first one. I know Badiang went under the post as well. But I think actually
Petit-Fours was one of the yellows, wasn't he?
I think so, yeah. Given the amount of Fijian flair on show, I think it was actually a fairly certainly on the scorecard, maybe a little bit less consequential than I might have hoped. Here we go. Oh
Natuvi
god,
scored, didn't he?
my TV did score. My goodness me, 52 points.
Natuvi's
That's
like that's just another one that's just come out. Like I thought they'd had you when you think you've got all of your Racing's Fijians nailed down, just another one appears. They've scored
yeah.
so many.
You know what? It wasn't vintage. Naituvi did score. Nathan Hughes, obviously Fijian
Oh yeah,
born,
yeah.
scored as well. He's had a fantastic season. Petit, yellow cards. Otherwise, no, not really. Tries for
Quiet.
Escobar, Max Spring, couple for Hulu on the Racing side, obviously.
Was
Not
it? What
cast. So
didn't
yeah,
quite have Halur versus Halur.
no,
That's
no, unfortunately not.
I feel like there's scope for a good name there in that derby.
Yeah, I could do with a bit of work. We'll get that lined up for next season. Yeah, sorry, we were just talking about Stad as well, weren't we? What?
Yeah,
Yeah, fantastic win for them. Toulon, I find the Toulon Maya they've been a bit sticky all season, but I find the nature of the two home losses still a little bit baffling, just given very
points
simply
conceded.
the points conceded, but just the quality of players they've got. And I would assume, and I say this with no coaching experience whatsoever, with the sort of size and abrasiveness of the players they have, like the option to go back to something quite straightforward in order to arrest a bit of a decline. Now, that maybe is too simplistic, and I didn't see this game, so I've only seen highlights and Stad. You're not going to score that many points unless you're incredibly impressive. But yeah, it just feels a little bit odd. It is
It's not.
my very technical summation of it.
It's not like they've been pretty direct. They've not been that like there were times last year where it was pretty route one and they were just going to bludgeon a team until they conceded penalties and conceded a penalty again and then eventually get over the line. And they were getting bonus point wins, but it was occupying the opposition 22 and just battering away with Ribbons and Alonuisi and Fayanganuku it would have been then. And obviously there is the odd flair try because they've got some exceptional players who are either rapid or absolute magicians, and obviously they had Monicolo last year as well. But it's not like they're playing anything particularly expansive. From what I've not seen much of Toulon over the last few weeks. Apologies, but it hasn't looked particularly fluid since the arrival of Thomas Albanose.
Yeah,
And I can't help but think like bringing in a brand new fly half, people only generally do it if you're facing relegation or you have five
injuries.
fly halves injured, or you've got both, like Perpignan. But yeah, like if you think of like the other fly halves that have come in halfway through a season, there's none of the good teams are like suddenly bringing in a brand new fly half. It might be like the emergence of a youngster, like an Axel Desperez, who's kind of had to play more games because your premier fly half is injured. But I don't know. It's not, to be fair, it's not that common that you bring in anyone from someone in a key position mid-season, really, is it? But yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's a really interesting. It's eye-catching, wasn't it? Because as you say, it's incredibly rare and it's a big name signing, regardless of how you feel about Albanos or kind of some of Garbisi's slightly patchy form. It's a huge thing to do, and certainly as of yet, it doesn't seem to have borne fruit. Although could they face the Stormers, don't they, at home in the last 16? Maybe still a little bit of time to run in Europe. We will see.
What did you make of the Stade Francais kit?
Oh, nice idea, not great execution would be my. I quite like the. Yeah, I like the overall design. I like the white with the lightning bolts. I feel there's been some good kits coming out recently, and I feel this one could be better. Could do
A lot,
better.
a lot of people were like,
6.5 out of 10.
a lot of people were like, oh my god, another one, unbelievable bit of kit, take all my money. I was a bit like, yeah, it's all right. Apparently, some of them were like 150 euros as well.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, I was like, that's not. It was white, and then it had like a navy and a red lightning bolt, or red navy and red lightning bolts, and I think it was to commemorate something from like the early noughties, some away kit from the early noughties, I think. But it was cool. I didn't think it, but I still think the standard away kit they have, which is the old school blue and red, is cool.
Yeah.
Like it looked
And
like it
the
looked
one
like the
the
sort
year
of
before with like the gold lightning bolts
Yeah.
was unbelievable.
it looks like the sort of kit that Harlequins would wear for the big game at Christmas. Like it's one of those
Yeah,
kits where it's like it feels like too much of a departure from the usual colours.
yeah, I like that. I think that's a good a good way of summarizing it. Yeah, I'm just looking at it now. It's also not quite for me. That kit is a bit better with a proper collar, as it always is, but that in particular, which Stade Francais, certainly the ones last year, usually have, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Also, a lot of random sponsors on it. I think you could pay less. You could pay
I saw
less to
that.
have it without a sponsor,
Yeah,
which
nice.
was good. I did. Yeah, I like that. I mean, I
Little
don't know
bit
how
of
that's working commercially for Stade Francais, but
bit of freedom of choice there. That's yeah, nice touch. But I'm with you. It's not in a season where there have been some belting kits. That for me is it's kind of mid range, maybe a little bit better.
yeah, we've skirted around it. So 2 years ago, when we launched this, we launched straight into no, it would have been the week two, but the week two was the equivalent fixture. Bordeaux hosting Toulouse at Matmut Atlantique, and that was an absolute thriller at the time. The games since have been slightly more one sided. What were your views on Bordeaux v Toulouse?
It was fantastic. It was a fantastic game. It was thoroughly entertaining. It was. I hope I can't be the only person. It was utterly exhausting at times to watch. Like it was so frenetic. The lack of structure at times, the number of turnovers, the aggression in contact. The ref was just letting, as far as I could tell, like particularly the breakdown was fairly lenient. Yeah, it was. I thought it was a fantastic game. We'll maybe come on to a couple of the performances in a moment. But yeah, I found it was just like completely breakneck and maybe not what I'd anticipated at the back end of the Six Nations either. I thought there might be something a little bit more mellow, and it didn't feel like that at all. Yeah,
Well,
what were your thoughts?
I thought it was going to be more of a contest, to be honest. I think it was, Bordeaux got out to a decent lead earlier than I guess the game last year was similar where they kind of raced out to a lead. But I thought that Toulouse team would offer more. I wasn't particularly impressed by Toulouse, I have to say. I thought they were quite sloppy. They were quite error strewn, I would say. For Toulouse, certainly. I think if Clermont had put in that performance, you'd be like, oh, they've tried a lot of things and not all of it came off. But when it's Toulouse, you're like, I think that was actually a little bit crap, believing their own hype a little bit.
Wow. Okay. Explain a bit more because I thought until sort of certainly the first half, and not just because of the scorecard, I felt Toulouse actually early in the second as well. There was a long period where Bordeaux held them out on their line, which I thought was a really impressive defensive set. Yeah, I'm intrigued to know a little bit more because for me it felt like a sturdy enough to lose performance, admittedly with some errors in there, but then maybe the kind of gulf in the depth between the two teams or the two teams that were selected on the night kind of cracked a little bit from 50 minutes on, and it went from contest to not really.
Yeah, maybe I just paid more attention to the second half. Maybe I've come out a little bit harsh, but yeah, I just thought a lot of the players for Bordeaux outplayed their opposite man,
Yeah,
like quite comfortably in some cases, and I think that's kind of indicative of Toulouse not being where they could be at. There was a lot. I just think there was a lot of drop ball. I've got no stats to back that up, but I think they dropped it. Like they gave it away a lot. Like you said, like there was a lot of turnovers and stuff like that. I think, yeah, I just didn't think they were particularly good. I expected more from Toulouse because I know they've got like obviously they would have had like 10 players missing that they could have picked, but it just didn't feel. Don't know. I would say that Jack Willis was fantastic,
yeah,
and at the breakdown, Paul Malez was excellent as well. I thought he was
very
really
good.
good at the breakdown, and those were the kind of positives. They
Yeah,
did score in the second half what should have been try of the season,
was
and
this the
got
Mal?
chalked off. The one that got chalked off for Malvaca picking it up from an offside position in the ruck, which I think is just such a like, oh come on, get on with it, like such an anal piece of refereeing because it's quite marginal that he's even got his foot and like the timing and you've got to slow it down, but also like bringing it back that far, and it goes back to like it's not clear and obvious at the time. I know like you're always going to check that sort of thing, so I can kind of see why they did, but it's not like they, as soon as this sort of thing, like as soon as you have to have gone to your third or fourth replay, just get on with it. They've scored an like a genuine worldie of a try. Please, can we just let the boys play and just carry on? That was just it was just such a good try, and it's now consigned to the history books. It's gone, erased.
Yeah.
And would have been a second try for Roman Entomac, and his performance went downhill rapidly from that point.
Yeah, I thought he was very good in the first half.
He was very good in the first half, but he offered up one of the worst crossfield kicks I think I've ever seen. And I don't think that's hyperbole.
It was, yeah.
He's got two men to aim for.
And decision-making was not great.
He's got two men to aim for with one Bordeaux man, and he manages to hook it a little bit, so it actually ends up going backwards and lands between the two Toulouse players and straight into the arms of that one Bordeaux player, which happens to be Damien Penaud. They're quite lucky that they didn't go the length, because Jalibert's the one that next gets on it. But yeah, it was an extraordinarily bad crossfield kick. He did look a little bit rusty second half, or he just got a little bit tired. And at one point, I was like, "Oh, is the headline going to be Entomac outplays Jalibert and stuff like that?" And then by the end, it is just there is one bloke who is in red hot form, has been playing rugby, and then there's one bloke that was kind of
finding his way back in.
Yeah, I thought Jalibert was absolutely unbelievable again. Just phenomenal.
Yeah, he's a joke, isn't he? Number of involvements and variety of skill is quite something.
I'm really enjoying him clear out rucks. I think that's
he also keeps sometimes deciding to take the ball on a little short line around the ruck. Yeah, like little crash ball. He certainly keeps you guessing. Yeah. Also, Damien Penaud, I thought
had a good game. Yeah,
good game at 13. I mean, there are levels of chaos to Damien Penaud regardless, and I feel that comes out arguably even more at centre. But he was, potentially an option. Obviously, with Deportaire's injury going forward, and they've got Tambwe back, who obviously always love watching anyway.
He had a decent game, didn't he?
Could be quite good fun.
Penaud, who nipped in, not only did he get the better of Entomac in that crossfield kick, but again, I think Entomac should have, Entomac cliche. Looked like he didn't want it enough with that grubber through, and Penaud got to it. I think he should get that. Entomac is on Entomac a bit, hasn't he? Entomac is on the right side of that. He should have dealt with it.
A few more games back, I'm sure he will.
Yeah. I would say on this, my general thought was Bordeaux. I feel like Bordeaux can win pretty much any game, because as long as they've got Luca and Jalibert playing, I think there's an element of just the control and how they dictate the game and put people in the right areas and pull off magical game-changing moments or momentum-swinging moments that, regardless of how bad your line-out goes or how often you get
which was very bad yesterday.
Yeah. Or how often you get turned over or whatever, or how often you drop the ball as a team. I just think there's an element of, if you've got Luca and Jalibert playing 75 minutes together, you're going to win the game. It feels a little bit like that. I was surprised Jalibert played so long, actually, but I thought they were just so good, and that could count for a lot coming in the back end of the season, especially as if we think they will, they're going to have to go through the barrage. It could win them an away barrage and a semi-final just from having the two of the quality operators in the league that can win a game just as a pairing.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that. Just to round us off then, Rob, the Saturday night fixture, La Rochelle they've won 2 on the spin. They're flying. And perhaps most notably, only conceded 6 points against Pau, which is no mean feat given how your Palois boys have been this year. Any immediate thoughts?
Defence was on top in this game, very much so. But defensive line-outs from Pau, because La Rochelle's line-out wasn't very good. But from what I've seen, the defences were very good. Pau, I don't quite know what happened in attack. I think they're just a little bit droppy, a little bit kind of not quite clicking and not quite just giving the ball away and off feet. It's kind of like how we were earlier, or back in the last season or earlier on in the season away from home. It's kind of just a bit sloppy at times, both with the kind of looking after the ball and in terms of ball in hand and looking after it in terms of keeping possession. But yeah, from what I've seen, disappointing. Yeah. Jack Noel was very good in this game and scored the winning try.
Yeah, fantastic try as well. Lovely little kind of sneaky hidden line floating around the back, and yeah, excellent break. Very nice. Looking ahead then to before we have another break for Europe, any fixtures particularly catch your eye, Rob, this weekend?
Yes, first versus second. The new first versus second.
Toulouse, Montpellier.
Toulouse hosting Montpellier. So we kind of called out that Montpellier had a lot of away games in this run-in, and called out that Clermont was a tough one, which it should have been. But Toulouse is obviously the toughest of the lot. So I do wonder if Montpellier might like prevent them from scoring a bonus point try or something like that. I do wonder if Montpellier will kind of put them in a scrap for 50, 60 minutes. That will kind of... But then Montpellier don't score any tries, so... I mean, they probably do, but, that's the one that catches the attention. The other one is the Saturday night game is being played at... Do you know?
A Bayonne over in San Sebastian.
They are indeed, yeah. They're in San Sebastian. They have played La Rochelle there last season and won pretty well. But yes, that is at the Real Sociedad Stadium, the Anoeta in San Sebastian, which is a very, very cool place, having been there myself. I loved it.
Very nice. The only other one I'm going to call out, just because it could be interesting the way the two teams are playing, is Perpignan hosting Toulon. Toulon possibly with an eye on the Champions Cup, but equally can't afford too many more slip-ups if they want to make a barrage. So, yeah, interesting little conundrum there. Could be nicely poised.
I thought you were going to say Stade Francais versus Clermont on Sunday evening.
That is also
God,
very
Clermont have
nicely
slipped to
poised.
sixth this weekend. Fifth versus sixth.
So tight in there, isn't it? It really is.
This is the first time Perth have been outside the top two since round 5.
Is it really?
They've had two weekends before this weekend outside of the top 2, being the first one when they were third, and then round 5 when they were third. So yeah,
Well, there you go.
on the slide. I think we are only 2 wins in 6 or something like that. So, yeah, hoping for those summer months to come and we can start playing some wonderful running rugby. I'm slightly worried about the Racing game, I have to say. We lost to Racing at home last year.
Right. Okay, we'll hold it there and be back for the return of a Pro Day Dirt in just a moment. Rob, after a couple of weeks off, we mentioned it at the top there, Pro Day Dirt is back with us. We've got some live Thursday rugby. Provence, Colomiers,
Yeah.
which is, I mean, that's an absolute beauty. Second v third, if I'm not mistaken. What do we want to do? Do we want to set the scene? Obviously, perhaps if you've joined us for the first time after the Six Nations, you'll maybe be surprised or perhaps less surprised to hear that we are very big Pro Day Dirt fans. But where do you go from there?
It's back.
It's brilliant. It's back.
Yeah. It's three whole weekends or 3 whole weeks by the time it kind of rolls around, which is, I think, the longest break that they get, isn't it? We are 23 rounds in, so that is a whole Premiership whole Prem campaign plus 5 extra games, and we've still got 7 rounds to go. And similar format to the top 14, but with 16 teams. But the top 6 go into the barrage being effectively a quarter-final, 3rd versus 6th, 4th versus 5th. They play at the home grounds of the 3rd and 4th, and then they go into a semi-final, which is hosted at the home grounds of the 1st and 2nd place sides, which is different to the top 14, which are the semis are played at a neutral venue. And then the final is played the following week between the winners of those 2 semi-finals at Stade Ernest Vallon in Toulouse. That's a kind of relatively new thing that they've started doing, is doing the Pro Day Dirt final on a neutral venue, and seems to be they've got it working with Toulouse. At the bottom, 16th goes down automatically and 15th goes into an access match against the National runner-up. So National has a barrage system and a final. The loser of that final will be the team that hosts the access match. Have I missed something out in terms of the overall format?
Beautifully explained. Maybe just, did we mention the access match to the top 14?
Yes. So the loser, so it's not, you can win the league and you can still be booted out in the semi-finals. It's the loser of the Pro Day final. So last year, for example, Montauban beat Grenoble at Stade Vallon to win Pro de Deux, to be national champions of France Pro de Deux, as it kind of gets called. They get a shield and everything. And then Grenoble, the week after, had to pick themselves up to host Perpignan in the access match with a shot at the top 14 and lost for the third year in a row.
Yeah,
to Perpignan,
which is remarkable.
No, one of those was against Montpellier, wasn't it?
It was the year before, wasn't it?
A couple of years ago.
Late Louis Carbonell penalty from memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rob beautifully explained. The state of play is, I guess, we kind of did a rundown of the top 14 last week. It's not entirely dissimilar, right? In terms of, well, certainly at the top in terms of how the table's kind of chunked up. So Van, who came down from the top 14 last year, are, well, even more imperious than Toulouse have been in the top 14. They are top by 17 points from the kind of next two chasers, which are Clermont and Provence, who play each other this Thursday, hence why it is such a beautifully poised game. And then making up the rest of the barrage spots, where it's looking a little bit tighter, are Oyonnax, Valence Roman, who have arguably been the sort of surprise package this year. They're having their best season ever in Pro de Deux. And Brive, who any new listeners will probably be familiar with, the home of Courtney Laws and big European powerhouse of yesteryear.
John Cooney.
All sorts going on. And outside of that, the biggest challenger is Agen, who again are a little bit resurgent this season. They're 2 points behind Brive. Rob, then fair to say you've kind of got like a, what would you call it, the little group where the barrage is like in a remote, very remote now possibility.
In Aurillac, Grenoble and Soy-en-Galem. I'd cap that there. So Soy-en-Galem are in 10th, having had a brilliant season last year. Grenoble, having had a shot at the top 14 3 years in a row, are struggling still with an outside shot at the barrage. And then I'd say from 11th downwards, being Nevers, I think that is the relegation battle.
Yeah, completely. And where
it wouldn't be if it were not for the fact that Nevers haven't won a game in their last 8. And they've got one draw in that period, but they have also lost their last 5. So if they were trending upwards, I would say they're not in the relegation battle. But I would say because they are very much trending downwards, they are in that relegation battle.
Yeah. And where in the top 14, as unfortunately Montemar it's kind of a foregone conclusion, and it's almost certain as well Perpignan will be in that aforementioned access match yet again in Pro de Deux. There are, well, as we say there, we've got 6 teams with 10 points between them, plenty of whom play one another in the next few weeks. Regardless of Carcassonne's position in 16th, bottom of the table, they're 5 behind. You've then got 5 teams within 5 points of one another. Dax, unfortunately, anyone looking at the table for the first time, they've won more games than most, but have on the receiving end of 14 points, was it, deduction?
Yeah, so I should say Nevers are in 11th on 40. Biarritz are on 39, but should be on 44, were it not for deductions. Béziers are on 38. They should be on 40, were it not for deductions. So they would both be ahead of Nevers if points were just points. Mont-de-Marsan, they are a rare team in the bottom 5 that doesn't have any points deductions. Dax with a hefty minus 14, without which they would be in 9th or 10th. But they are 15th, second bottom, and then Carcassonne have not had any financial penalties put on them. But yeah, 3 teams in that bottom relegation battle. Dax are kind of more obviously sucked into it by that points deduction, whereas Biarritz and Béziers, I would say, would be there regardless. Pretty much that. I think Biarritz might be a little bit safer, but they'd be there regardless of those penalties. Yeah.
So in short, absolutely loads to play for across pretty much the entire league, regardless of what will happen come the very end. There's a huge amount on the line every week from here on in, which is exactly how we want Pro de Deux to be. Rob, so we kind of move into this last block of 7 that takes us to a scarcely believable 30 matches before you have the small matter of the playoffs. Anything you want to see? Any big brash calls you want to make?
Well,
Or are you
I haven't
just
actually,
excited for it coming back?
I've not actually looked at your table. So we have done predictions, and we did it last week. We fired up the lazy assumption generator, the Rosbeef's AI, John Baptiste Grok, and it doesn't change much. Grenoble go up a little bit. Mont de Marsan slide into the relegation zone based on the kind of lazy assumption generator. Now, depending on your viewpoint, you could say that the lazy assumption generator, where basically there's all home teams win, so you don't lose, you win all your home games. From this point in, some skeptics might say that is what will happen anyway, because this is Pro D2 and home teams always win at home in Pro D2 and etc. etc. But there is also the fact that in Pro D2 there is a seemingly never-ending scope for just the most bizarre, shocking results to come out of nowhere. So although it could be, you could have Pro D2 down as like a really predictable league from this point in, you just know it's not. Like, it's just not going to happen the way you might expect it. The amount of times that we have eyed up a round of fixtures and thought that looks pretty uneventful, and it's just, you just know that there is a shock going to come, and it's always the one, like, it's never like the most obvious away win, or like, yeah, I could see that happening as a bit of a shock. It's always like, didn't see that coming at all, sort of thing. A little bit like the top 14 was this weekend, where some of the results I just did not see coming. Maybe we just don't know. Maybe we should just give it up, Richard. Maybe, we're trying to offer people a service here of kind of giving an insight into French rugby, but we're guessing as much as the rest of everyone, basically. But yeah, so the lazy assumption generator could be very, very accurate, because it could be that all home teams win, and there's the odd away bonus point away from home from strong teams going to weak teams, etc. In which case, there's not much movement, and it's not great news for Mont de Marsan in that case. What this doesn't assume, with this lazy assumption generator, there is no kind of, it hasn't factored in the fact that Dax in theory should be 11th. So there might be a few that it's assuming they do worse than they are because of their current lowly position. So on that basis, I actually think Dax will outdo the kind of basic assumption. I've actually got Dax finishing 11th, because I think they're just a stronger team than the other teams down the bottom there. I think Nevers could really struggle, but I think they've just about got enough points from the first half of the season where they were unbeaten at home, and they still haven't got any points on the road, have they? They still haven't got a win away from home.
No.
If they've got any points, they've got 1 point. Béziers have 0. And I think the fact that they are so bad away from home, those two teams, means that they could get sucked in. But I think they're just generally, their home form is better than the others. They are more consistent at home, despite the fact that Nevers have kind of plummeted. I've gone for Béziers rising up a little bit, because I think there's enough quality in that squad still. Biarritz are the team that I would be worried about, but I think, again, they've just got enough points in the tank just to outdo Mont de Marsan, and Mont de Marsan's away form is so bad. And I think Carcassonne, unfortunately, just have a little bit too much ground to make up. That whole 5 points is, covers 11th to 15th, but then there's another 5 down to them in 16th. You've gone slightly different, Richard. Talk me through you putting Béziers 14th.
I just think their away form's been dreadful.
Pants.
Like fully abject for
quite
a good side. Yeah, that's pretty much the basis of it, which I think I had Nevers not getting fully scrapped into it, which by the same logic they probably should do, but I'm guessing it won't happen to both, and maybe have shown a tiny bit more points and maybe have a slightly deeper squad. Yeah, I can't recall what else I put. I don't think there was anything too wild.
You had Dax finishing 13th, and we both had Mont de Marsan 15th, Carcassonne 16th.
Yeah, I think I agree with Carcassonne. Unfortunately, maybe a little bit too much ground to make up.
Yeah. And we've both gone for the same top 6. You've got Colomiers slipping down into 3rd, and that's the only difference we've got from the current setup.
Yeah.
I've got Colomiers finishing 2nd because A, their away form is very good. B, they've got fantastic home games. They've got like Carcassonne, Mont de Marsan. They've got all the crap teams at home. They do go away to Provence this week, and they go away to Valence Romans. They've also got Biarritz away, which feels winnable. I think in an ordinary in another season you'd be like, well, they've got Provence away, they've got Valence-Romans away, they've got Grenoble away. That's tough, but I think because they're generally doing quite well away from home, and they've had a lot of that. Like I think they'll start to pick up wins because of the conditions will suit them a bit more, and they'll be able to get away with the lighter weight side and playing with a bit more pace. I think
Yeah,
they'll keep that form. Like they hit some really good form back end of last season.
They did.
But
Yeah, they did.
but that was purely from looking at the fixtures. I think my hunch was that Provence would probably, like if I was doing it purely on gun to the head, I've got a blindfold on, I'd probably go Provence because I think they are the premier team of the two. I think like they're a top 14 team in waiting, and Colomiers feel like a bit of a development team still. That's a really harsh way of putting that, but you know what I mean. Like they're good academy and they're kind of good cohesion. They're a unit, whereas Provence feel like a team that's ready to step up to
That's
top 14.
been deliberately building for the top 14, right? I think that's probably the key difference.
Whereas I think Colomiers there just to be a good club and have a nice time and entertain some fans.
And bring through some of the amazing Toulouse youth as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite. I mean, one thing we've got in here, Rob, I hadn't realised how tight it might be. Is there a chance Van could beat the league record for points?
I hadn't quite realised that there was. I was expecting like no team to have ever got over 100 points, but actually it happened. It's happened loads. There are kind of a few seasons. The data on the top 14 website only goes back to 2008, 2009 when Racing were the winners. Shows how far back it goes.
Wow.
But Oyonnax got to 111 twice in 2022-23 and in 2012-2013, which would have been under Christophe Urios, right? I think.
Sounds about right.
But Lyon have got to 117 points with 25 wins out of 30, both times in 2015-16 and in 13-14. The lazy assumption, which is probably a fair way of doing it, because they probably will get 5 points at home every time, and that gets them to 112. I think that's probably about where they'll end up. They might get one extra win, and I think they might get to like 115, 116, but I think they've got to win 6 out of the last 7 to get to 25 wins, which I think is...
It's a lot. Particularly when you're
I hadn't quite realised 25. They have got that draw, but... So maybe they get away with 24, but...
Particularly when you're so far clear as well, and therefore can rest and rotate and, maybe take one eye off ever so slightly. God, that's a hell of a haul, isn't it? 117 from Lyon.
Yeah, to have done it twice as well. They didn't even they must have got close in that one of the years, or like the second year to kind of overtaking it. Yeah, I in my head, if I without looking at any stats, I would have been like, well, they must be. No team has surely ever been this good because they've only lost 3 games so far. But yeah, they are too good for this league currently. The bigger question is, can you see a world in which they don't go up?
I can, to the extent that we saw it last year. Anyone can lose that final. There's no home advantage. Yes, but I feel like they would also be in an even better position to beat what will almost certainly be Perpignan at home than Grenoble have been in recent years. I think we looked at it at the start of the season and felt that perhaps it was a slightly stronger team that was in the top 14 last year, both in terms of kind of headline and depth of squad. So yes, I can, but I kind of hope not. I feel like you have a season like that, you fully deserve it, and it's an amazing club. But I think who's going to beat them? A Provence could do them.
Provence could beat them. Provence could beat them in a final. I guess there is a world that if they find some form back into the season, which they have done a couple of times, even though I still think they're crap. But Brive could. They show no evidence really of like on their day. We don't see their day that often, but there is enough quality and bulk in that Brive squad that on their day they could beat them. But I just think Van they'll go into it with so much confidence and cohesion. It'll be interesting to see if they were to lose a a final. You seem quite confident. I mean, we were at that game last year where they threw away that lead at Perpignan in a kind of bit of a relegation 6-pointer. I think you're right. Actually, they probably would beat Perpignan even in an access match. So yeah, absolutely don't get your bets on Van getting promoted because we've said it with such confidence that almost certainly now won't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we have a little look into the round of
Anything
fixtures?
else from the season? I think Provence could go up.
You think it could be two?
I think it could be two.
Yeah. Be
I'd
a
love
lot
to
of
see
fun.
Provence v Perpignan would be a fun game.
Yes.
And I think if it is Mont-de-Marsan, Béziers, Biarritz, I think those teams should. I think Mont-de-Marsan would win a. I feel like the sort of team that would just turn it on for a. They're so unpredictable and they can pull extraordinary performances out the bag. I think they would win a Pro de access match. I could see Biarritz losing one. But I bet like Béziers aren't going to lose an access match. If Béziers end up in an access match, if Samuel Marquez is fit, they're not losing.
Yeah, I think the gap is, as we've
It's
seen
so
the last
big.
couple of years, is quite big.
The only way that would be if someone can stun. If someone's stunned, if Nice don't
Nice,
win,
yeah,
and then Nice rock up with like Naeth Alevu and like
yeah.
Rouet and
Owen
Owen
Williams
Williams
and
and
these guys.
like
Yeah,
Nice could do Biarritz. I think if it got to that.
we will see.
Nissa,
Got a few
sorry.
weeks. It's Nissa rugby.
Do you think? Sorry, the other one. Do you think the top six is wrapped up? Do you think it will be that top six?
Oh, yes, but not because I think it's like overwhelmingly wrapped up. I think Valence have got enough of the big home games against the rest of the top. A couple of wins there probably is enough. They play Oyonnax this weekend, don't they? And like it almost becomes like a bit of a 10-pointer. Yeah, can Argen breach it?
I
2 points behind. I think what we quite often see, right, is it's that like sharpening of minds and squads towards the end of the season, isn't it? So you mentioned Brive, like they waltzed past Colomiers a few weeks ago, having been pretty abject all season. I think when rotation isn't an option and there's so much on the line, you back the deepest and most powerful squads and the teams that are already there and done it. So I think they probably will just hold off them and Valence from Argen. I think Oyonnax will be good. So yeah,
I'm
after all
I'm
that winding, I think I'm
yeah.
saying yes.
I'm not sure I can see Argen getting 3 more points from the last 7 games than Brive. I think they could match them, but I don't think they'll do well to outdo Brive, let alone Valence Romans. And I think now, and look on that basis, I think Grenoble have just got too much ground to make up. I think Grenoble would need to win 6 of the 7 games, and I think they win 5 at most.
Yeah, and a few things
As good as
probably
they
to go
are,
their
as good as
way.
they should be. Yeah, they need some stuff to go their way. They've got some pretty tough fixtures in there as well. Albeit at home, they've got Valence Romans, Oyo, Colomiers. Their away games. Thing is, like last year's Grenoble, you'd say Dax away, Carcassonne away, Aurillac away. Like they're winning those, and I just don't have that confidence this year with Grenoble.
Yeah,
Unfortunately for
yeah, I
them.
think that's probably fair. Cool. This weekend or the end of this week, Thursday, Friday. I mentioned a couple of them there. Valence Roman, Oyonnax, which is fifth through fourth, which should be pretty good fun.
These are the games I was going to try and go to, isn't it? Provence hosting
Yes,
Colomiers and then Valence hosting Oyonnax, which was going to
yeah,
be a lot of train travel, but short journeys, shortish, not too much. But yeah,
good fun. Provence Colomiers, we kind of opened this whole section talking by mentioning that. Yeah, should be a lot of fun. We'll be live on FR UK, I believe,
on
hope
YouTube,
on
yeah,
YouTube on
yeah.
Thursday. Some decent, few
Live and
decent
free if you're in the
individuals
UK and Ireland.
knocking around as well. You've got a little list here of a couple of head-to-heads, Rob.
Well, I just think Ray Nu. If you're new to Pro de Deux, 2 of the best players from the last couple of years have been Ray Nu and Inga Finau, the corresponding 12s. Inga Finau has been amazing for the last few years and can do everything. They can both do everything, and they are both so physical. If we see those 2 line up against each other in field, we could see some amazing stuff. Also, probably the 2 best fly halves in the league, Caleb
Uh,
Muntz and Valentin Delpy.
yeah, maybe.
Lafarge would have a say, wouldn't he? But
Yeah,
Muntz is the best fly half in the league because he plays for Fiji and he's a proper international rugby player. But
and
Delpy
Delpy
is
will be the best
the
fly half in France
the
at some
world.
point.
Yeah, he's the best goal kicker in the league. Or is he? I think it might be Johnny McPhillips, actually, statistically. But yeah, and then Caleb Timu is the other big name in that back row, or in that Colomiers side in terms of the bulk. I think Provence I've kind of got Timu versus whoever Provence pick in that back row, because it could be Tuasui, it could be, I think Harrison might be injured, but Jalagonia, the Georgian, is fantastic as well. They've got some proper units. I kind of keep forgetting how good their tight five is. Like Thomas Francis, Sebastian Taufifenua, Roman Laterad, Isaac
Got so
Rodder.
many options as well.
They've just got genuinely good players there. Yeah, it's the fact they've got so many tier 1 international players. Like well, I know Muntz isn't Fiji, people don't count that, but Fiji are a top table team, aren't they? Wales, you've got a couple of Australians in there.
Yeah, proper stuff. And I suppose the other key call out, other end of the table,
Huge
is massive, arguably the most consequential of the round, is Carcassonne against Mont-de-Marsan. Yeah, feels, well, it's just huge. We've just given the various travails of those two sides this year. It's for Carcassonne in particular, right, as a home game, that is that is not optional to win that, you would think.
That's a little bit do or die, isn't it, really?
Yeah, almost. Even with 6 games, it's close to it.
They've got to do something. If they lose it, they've got to do something extraordinary to not finish 16th, let alone not finish 15th.
Yeah.
God, they've got some horrible fixtures as well. Yeah, that's comfortably their most winnable game.
I'm expecting a very suspect AI vid, like they peeled off last time.
I might have something for you about that in the Petit-Fours.
Okay. Well,
I haven't quite worked out what it is yet, but yeah.
Anything else you wanted to mention before we get there? My interest has been piqued.
No, I don't think so. Other than can't wait for it to be back. It's good. I looking at those table predictions earlier, how tight the league is, and how trying to work out who's going to go down is so hard. It's a real bun fight at the bottom.
Whets the appetite.
Yeah.
Right. Enjoy it. Thursday night should be a cracker. Rob, we'll park it there, come back and finish with a couple of Petit-Fours in just a moment. Okay, to finish us off then, Rob, you mentioned the video there. Have you found something, or are you just hoping that in our brief interlude there was going to be a bit of inspiration?
No, there is something. I just need to work out what it is. Let me find it. But in the meantime, today, or announced today, recently has been the mayoral elections in France, haven't they?
Yeah, which I feel we've spoken about a little bit through the lens of there have been some ex-rugby players and rugby adjacent folk, most of whom, including I think Boujalal and Altrad, had no luck. The guy in Toulon, whose name escapes me, in spite of his plans, other fancy or otherwise plans for the stadium, also didn't get anywhere. But the one guy missed out, who actually has been elected, of all the famous names in French rugby, the new mayor of Biarritz is Serge Blanco.
That's almost like, when I saw that, I was like, you mean he's not already? Like he's like the metaphorical notional mayor of Biarritz, right? Like if any man has the freedom, genuinely could do what the fuck he wants in Biarritz, it is Serge Blanco. Like, yeah, I reckon there are people that worship Serge Blanco more than they do God and Jesus down in Biarritz. I reckon he's a proper religion in his own right.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed. I saw the note this morning, and then also saw Francisco Isaac did a little article about it for Rugby Pass. But it was like, how did all these random folks who had neither cared nor ever really heard about before in the Toulon municipal elections, how did that come up, and had no idea of Serge Blanco? But yeah, congratulations to Serge. I also had no idea, which is probably incredibly naive, that he was born in Venezuela.
What?
Which I don't know if that was like in the 80s or like 70s, 80s, early 90s when he retired. Maybe that was like the Flamand Loughborough University fact of its time, like the interesting
on the bingo card, yeah,
that everyone knows. There you go, born in Caracas, which is very, very cool.
I went down some rabbit holes on French mayoral election stuff today, and I did not discover that. That's amazing.
But yeah, that is, I'll be honest, I think about as far on the Petit-Fours as I got. There's been a lot of Instagram content around lots of very well-deserved holidays. We saw that Louis Biarré was at the Maracanã, right?
American, yeah.
Which is decent effort, and we fairly certain Brazil is the destination of choice right now for French rugby players.
Certainly if you're from Bordeaux or you have links to
Yeah,
Bordeaux. Like Woki's been there. I know, I think Macalee's been there. So they've all been there.
yeah. Basically all the Flair lads. Jalabert was there with Woki, wasn't he? Was it last
Yeah.
summer?
And what's his face was doing the carnival, wasn't he? Nonce.
Oh,
Nonce
not
de Qua-
not the Guang. Yeah, but otherwise, I think let me just have a little scour through my notes. That might be me on the Petit forefront this week.
I did see of all the other mayoral elections. I did see, and this is we're not trying to go too political, but I did see that in Roubaix there was the far right, the Front National or whatever they're called, got elected, not as someone tried to get installed in Roubaix, not unfortunately Thomas Ramos. So Thomas Ramos didn't. I mean, he wasn't on the card, but someone tried to get him in there. It said that in the BBC article, it said the 4 big cities were held by the incumbents. Do you know? Would you think? I was like, what are the 4 big cities? Do you know what
Paris.
Do you know what the BBC was classifying as the four big cities of France?
Paris, Lyon, Marseille, Nantes,
Lille.
Lille. Okay.
Yeah, so Toulouse is bigger by population, but somehow Lille was in the 4th biggest. Lille-Roubaix, the metropolitan area.
Okay.
I had no idea it was quite so big, having been there a matter of weeks ago. But yeah, what else did I think that was it on. I don't know if I had any other. Oh yeah, Lyon. I got down to the guy that got defeated in Lyon was Jean-Michel Aulas, which I recognised the name of. He was the owner for a long time, or club president of Olympique Lyonnais. So not just rugby, where the kind of local business owners and local club presidents are trying to get into the local elections, football as well. And then the bloke that was prime minister 6 months ago, that basically his government went to shit, and he kind of basically retired and returned back to Pau. And there was a very public statement, basically be like, "Oh, I can go watch Section Pauwars every weekend now, so I'm all right." He unfortunately lost out. He didn't manage to retain his seat as the mayor.
From Pau, is it?
As the mayor of Pau, yeah.
There you go. He'll be down at the Hamo even more then.
Yeah. You didn't want to talk about the Cast basketball top? I've just got that.
Cast have released. They're bringing out quite a lot of new merch this year. Cast. Unfortunately, went for probably the bloke in the worst shape in the squad to model it in Christian Ambadiyang, who, it must be said, looks like he's been drawn by. I don't know, mate. The bloke must be a % body fat, if that is in ridiculous shape, isn't he? Yeah, what a guy. What a guy.
While we're on kit, I did see Oscar Jegu has a new brand, so he's been using his time off. Maybe it was intentional, the gouge, so that he could branch out and spend a bit more time modelling. But he's been modelling for a brand called Joubert Paris, which, from what I can tell, is a company that specialises in transforming your match shirts into bags.
Okay.
So he is modelling. He has like a holdall, like a weekend bag that is the 2025-2026 France home shirt.
Interesting.
But it's a proper. They've got like all these sportsmen and like their shirts just turned into weekend bags. It's not something like, I'm not going to take my kind of Malden Wanderers one day shirt that I play the odd 2020 game in. I'm not taking that to get turned into. Imagine if you rocked up into the changing room on a weekend and be like, "Lads, don't fit my shirt anymore, but I've turned it into my bag for my washed bag and my spare whites." Yeah.
Wow. Because that was definitely. I feel you see them slightly less, but I reckon 3 or 4 years ago it was really in vogue for particularly retiring players. They were getting their shirts like upholstered into a chair.
Chairs, yeah. They had one in the dressing room of the club shop in Pau. They had a Pau. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a bag is a bit more. It looks quite nicely. It looks very smart.
I have to look it up.
Just look up Oscar Jegu. I do have another presidential thing before I finish on Carcassonne. Philip Marty from Rouen the club president is stepping aside. It's not confirmed yet, but Delphine Brunel is set to take over, and she would become the first female president of a professional rugby club in France.
Oh, cool.
If she were to take over the role, which I think is kind of, it's one of these, like, I think it's part of the succession plan, so it's kind of largely accepted that she's gonna get it. So well done, Delphine, nice. In the north.
Top work.
Yeah, I don't quite know what this is, but I don't know if you can see this. It's Le Druide de McPhillips. And I'm not particularly familiar with Asterix and Obelisk, but I think it's basically, there's a board game, right? I don't think that...
Asterix and Obelisk was a comic book.
It's a comic book, but I don't think this is part of like a board game. The kind of the stuff on it is, I don't know,
it's a picture
really
Rob
put
showed
off
to me.
by,
So it's a picture
it's Johnny
of McPhillips with like an AI waving hand.
And like an Asterix and Obelix like helmet on, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit fuzzy, but yeah, it's quite creepy.
It's odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it says in the village you never miss a penalty, even in stoppage time. Nothing something like you call McPhillips. McPhillips. Like that's why I say it was Asterix and Obelix.
Yeah.
But
it's a bit hammy, isn't it?
I don't quite know what's going on. But I was just very
Carcassonne good value with their...
I mean, it's a bit of a step down. You were talking about the AI. That's a bit of a step down from the Game of Thrones thing of just, don't know.
Yeah, there's a slightly unsettlingness to it. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, don't know what to make of that.
Are we leaving it at that? I'm going to have nightmares about
Johnny McPhillips,
an AI Johnny McPhillips,
friend of the pod, yeah. Very good looking man. It's just when he's been put in AI form with a weird helmet on, slightly odd.
Slightly odd. Right, Rob. Bumper times. We're done for another week.
Should say, sorry. Derby weekend. Derby weekend is Thursday the 16th to Sunday the whatever that is 19th. Have a look at flights. If you're available that weekend, get in touch, and I will help you find a good trip. They haven't yet, despite it being now 3 weeks away, they haven't yet announced the specific dates for the fixtures, but it depends on Thursdays, Fridays. But if you and your mates are keen for a weekend away, I would make sure you book that weekend off and come at us and we'll try and get some itineraries and loads of different options, so you can go to a club that you like or a club you've not seen before. But yeah, I am trying to do a trip with a couple of our mates, Richard, but again, I'm still waiting on what I will be doing. But if you want tips, and check out last week's podcast if you're bored at a Bristol fan or a Leicester fan or a Dragons fan, tell them to get in touch with us, and we will hook them up with some good recommendations for those away trips as well.
Very good. I will not be able to partake in that Derby weekend, Rob, because I'm a stag do in Dublin, as I've told you, but I will be trying hurling for the first time.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh, yeah. Or let's cut that on the off chance. I want a stag do somewhere.
That'll be fun when you've lost all your teeth, and on the Monday you've got to fodder your way through a podcast.
Yeah.
Not being able to speak.
Yeah, looking forward to it. All right. Follow us at Rosbiff Rugby pretty much everywhere. Don't need to tell you that anymore. Email us rosbiffrugby@gmail.com. And yeah, in the meantime, enjoy the return of what should be an absolutely belting game, Provence v Clermont, live on FR UK TV on YouTube in the UK and Ireland. Lots of top 14 to come, Pro League Dirt, and then we're into Europe again. So it's all coming up pretty good in the next few weeks. Rob, it's been fun. Speak to you next week. Au revoir.
Au revoir.